Hey guys, it's Chauncey from Good Music to Know. Today's guest is Jack Landess, an indie artist whose music moves between ambient textures, layered guitar work, and emotionally driven melodies. His 2023 album Revealer closed with a track that hinted potentially at more to come. And now with I Knew Part 2, that thread continues in a bold new way. Welcome to Session Stories. We're so happy to have you here.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here. I'm super excited.
Yeah, cool. So just jumping into it. So I felt like I was in Minority Report, like trying to make all the different connections from like your last album to like your single, because I just like kept noticing so many different connections. So, and your 2023 album Revealer, it ends with the track titled Revealer, and then in 2024 we have I Knew Part 2. So, do you see your release as like chapters of a larger story, or was Revealer meant to maybe like signal that there's more to come, like a cliffhanger?
Yeah, that's a fun question. I like working in kind of concept albums and ideas and storylines pretty much about my own life. So it started with Motion about like my first semester in college. So that's like the first part of it. And then Revealer is like the second half of that, and kind of finding my way through that and being kind of confused and kind of looking to God and being like, where am I going? And he just finding a path through it. But yeah, and then so I Knew Part 2 is a really funny story because I made like 40 versions of I Knew This Would Happen, but like I just couldn't. I was like, none of these sound good, so I just kept making them because I was like, it'll happen at some point, I guess. So it was a really frustrating process, but then eventually got to the point where I was like, I like this and it fits on Revealer. Yeah. Kind of with the general vibe. But I was like, I have like 30 other versions of this. And I was like, I feel like I should use it. And I played it for my dad, and he was like, oh, this one's kind of fun. You should drop it. And I was like, okay, cool. So I just wrote some lyrics over it and unused stuff that I wanted to throw in there. And so I was like, I'll just call it like I Knew Part 2 and kind of use like similar artwork from it. Because I had a bunch of, my friend Marsh took pictures of it with my friend Polly, who did the music video for Honey Boy. And we just had these really cool like backdrop, like spinning lights. And she made these really cool images that were kind of textural and had different colors. And so like I used like the red ones for Revealer because I thought that kind of fit. But I was like, I kind of wanted to use like other ones that I never got to. So it was fun to like drop a B-side from that. So yeah, but it's all definitely a part of like a larger story of overcoming loneliness and confusion and just new stages of life and kind of finding out who you are through that. So yeah.
Yeah, super cool. And then the reappearance of I Knew This Would Happen on your latest release. So is this about like returning to the same place, maybe with a new perspective or new eyes? Is that why you added this track, or did you add it for a completely different reason? Just curious.
So are you referring to
I Knew This Would Happen? I think that was on the single that you released.
Oh,
yeah.
Right. Okay, yeah.
I was just wondering, did you re-add that maybe to say that you come so far, or that you're returning to the same place but with a new perspective maybe? Or just curious, like you decided to re-add that song?
Yeah, for sure. I kind of put it on there for multiple reasons, kind of as a homage to like the original track that ended up being on the thing, but like being able to see kind of how two songs can sound completely different but come from the same headspace. I don't know, I thought that was kind of an interesting thing. And then yeah, also just give the original track that ended up on the album a little bit more love too, because it was less played than the rest of the songs, and I was like, I've always liked that one, and so I was like, it'll be cool. I was like, I guess I can sneak it in there and see like if it gets any more attention just for fun, to see kind of where they both landed. So yeah, I think it's kind of a mixture of those things, kind of between paying its dues to the original track and also like kind of a marketing thing just to have them both on there. Yeah, because I really like that track. It means a lot to me, and yeah, it reminds me of my friends back home. I'm originally from Ohio. So I think that's kind of a track for my friends back home, and like kind of missing like, oh, I knew this would happen. Like we're all kind of separating ways, and I don't know. So yeah, that's kind of what it was.
Super cool. I mean, whenever I do these interviews, I like to like re-listen to like the entire collection of music. And so again, to your like all the way through multiple times your 2023 Revealer album. And I think my favorite track hands down is Drift. And while I was listening to it, I didn't realize that Drift had ended because it like blended so perfectly into Revealer. And so at first I was like, this is such a long song. And I was like, it's the next track. So like, I just was curious, like, how do you approach track sequencing? I mean, it like literally blended so seamlessly. It was amazing.
Yeah, thank you. I'm glad that you appreciated that. That took forever to like arrange and figure out because I wanted to go into Revealer like having the entire EP or album or whatever like seamlessly, like every song should transition. Like I
Yeah.
want you to be able to listen to it like it's its own song. I don't know, I just thought it would be a fun idea, and it made it really hard to like change keys in between. I had to do a lot of music theory research, like figure out how I could make that work. But yeah, between Drift and Revealer, I feel like those songs are very connected. I actually wrote those songs on accident.
Oh,
Um, yeah, I was playing my guitar and I messed up like 5 times, and it ended up being like a lot of the chord progressions in Drift. And then I just started playing something else, and Revealer was originally on the guitar. Then I was like, just made like a last minute decision. It was like 1 a.m. and I was just in my room recording. And I was like, I'm just going to put it on piano or like keyboard or whatever. And so I switched it over. But yeah, those songs are different. Definitely like connected in a lot of different ways.
yeah.
But yeah, I just kind of always look to make something new with every project I do, like trying to, again, back to the concept idea, just kind of with this case, I wanted everything to flow. And like, I think a lot of people, like if they're not interested in music per se, tend to listen just to like singles. And I was like, I want this to be like a thing where you have to listen to all of it. So it was just kind of a fun idea I wanted to try out. And so I'm glad you enjoyed it though. I'm glad that you were able to like notice that.
Was listening to Drift again and was like, has this song always been this long? And I was like, no, we started the next song now. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm probably going to say this wrong. Is it Motion?
Oh, Motion. Yeah.
Motion. Is that what it is?
Yeah, dude. Funny story with that one.
But so Motion has this dreamy lo-fi vibe. Well, I think Revealer kind of introduces more like grittier guitar tones, you know? So what influenced this shift in sound? And how do you see maybe like your musical style evolving?
A lot of the influence was what I was listening to. Around that time, I started listening to more like shoegaze and like just wall of sound, crazy stuff like My Bloody Valentine. And also like some indie pop bands like Deep Sea Diver from Seattle. Like I love them. And so like kind of meshing that sound, I was like, I feel like that's kind of what I came to. Like it's a little grittier. And I also like in my head, I pictured Revealer as a whole, kind of this character like walking through the desert. And I just feel like, I don't know, like walking through sand, it's kind of weird and rough. I feel like those are the sounds that coordinated in my brain with the feeling of those things. So that's kind of, I think, how it came out to be kind of some of those textures. And I'm working on an album right now, like 11 songs called Golden Sun, which I'm really excited about. And it's trying to get the first single out pretty soon called Adelaide. Yeah, it's going to be a lot more like summery, like surf rock, beach vibes. But I really do want to get back into like super melancholic, like intense sounds again. So just kind of flipping between things. And like, I think it just depends on how I'm feeling in a season. But yeah, I'm super stoked for the stuff I'm working on right now and should be trying to get it out through the summer and getting pretty close. So
yeah. And like what typically sparks your songwriting process? Are there particular like experiences or emotions that drive you creatively?
I mean, I always start with music. I'm not a big lyrics person. I really appreciate them. And I like when I see really good lyrics, I'm like, wow, that's phenomenal. But it's not natural for me. It's more like about the sound. And so I have to work a lot harder to write lyrics and stuff. So it always starts with music. I think I usually write, just tend towards more melancholic sounds. Especially coming from Ohio, it's pretty like, at least during the winter, it's super overcast and dark and kind of just like dreary. So that comes out pretty naturally as well. But yeah, I think kind of like a state of loneliness, and it really kind of sparks my like, I have like, it's a way for me to like explain myself. Sometimes I'm not super great with my words. And so that's like the best way I feel like I can get it out of my system. Yeah. And I think also when I'm coming from a place of like not trying to make music just to like blow up, like it's just kind of like coming out of me. And I think that's how the best music, where it comes from, because it's like people making new sounds, what's flowing out of them at the time. You're making something new, or it kind of piques people's interest. You're like, that sounds different. It's kind of odd, but it's like, I can kind of get behind that. And maybe it's not always great, but it's like,
the passion's there. Yeah,
it's all about the passion. So I really appreciate that. I have to remind myself to stay in that mindset of like, I'm not doing this just to like please people. Like it's just like for me to like get my just to express myself. So I think when I have all of those factors, it makes something interesting.
Yeah, yeah. And which artists would you say have significantly influenced like either you or your music?
So the biggest one, Henry Nowhere, he's a bassist for Daywave, like in live shows.
Okay.
And so he has his own project that I just randomly stumbled upon my freshman year in college called Henry Nowhere, which is just him with nowhere on the end, I guess. But he was super nice. I reached out to him because I wasn't comfortable singing and stuff. And I liked his music because it sounded like he was almost just like whispering into the microphone. And I was like, oh, I could kind of do that because like I don't really like my voice, but it sounds like he's kind of just like layering a bunch of whispers to make a note.
Yeah.
I was like, that's kind of cool. So I reached out to him and asked him like his process, and he responded immediately, and he was super, super kind and just hit me with like all these tips and like his effects line. And I was like, dude, that's awesome because I suck at singing. And so just kind of
say that.
well, at least I did. I used to like, I wasn't confident. I've gained more confidence from that, especially from his encouragement. Yeah. And I thought his music was sick. So I took a lot of random aspects that I liked from his stuff and other people. And so, but yeah, he came into my music like at a perfect time where I was like, oh, whoa, I've never heard anyone just like whisper or like sing so lightly into their music. And then I started hearing it other places, like Men I Trust is kind of like that. She sings super quietly. And so, yeah, so that was super fun and perfectly timed. I have a lot of thanks for him, like kind of appearing at that time and being so nice to me. So,
yeah, super cool. How do your songs transform when performed live? Are there any tracks that maybe like take on a new life, like once you're on stage? These
are super fun questions. They all kind of sound a little bit different because, yeah, I'd say like my live performances are a lot different than the studio versions because it's like in my music, I way overproduce it and I put like 15 guitars and like 4 bass. Like I don't have to do that. I just do it because it's kind of fun. And so, and you create like a million different parts in the studio versions, but when I'm playing live, I only have 4 people on stage. And so there's only so many parts we can play. And so every song kind of has its own different vibe than the actual recording does. But one of my favorite ones, I mean, Motion's always super fun to play because it was the first song I played in Nashville live with like a full band, and it's just like so fun to get people hyped up. It's usually like our band's warm-up song.
Yeah.
And so it's like, because it's just like super fun to play and pretty easy to remember. So like to get the band like feeling good and then confident for the rest of the set list. And then yeah, Honey Boy is just like so intense live. We usually like take things a little bit more heavily live, which is super fun. And we try to get like people like moshing and stuff.
Nice.
So it's like you wouldn't hear it normally, I think, in my music. Like you wouldn't think to mosh to it. But like when it's live, the audio engineers there just like crank it and we just turn our reverb all the way up. And then so it feels like definitely shoegazy, dream poppy, but like headbanger, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know. So I never expected that. So it was super fun.
Yeah, that's super cool. And then, so let's say I Knew Part 2 became this, like, the scene of a film. What would that scene look like in your head?
I think the picture I always had in my head when I was writing the lyrics was like kind of a person in like an empty house, and it's like night and there's like one single like lamp in the middle of the house, and they're just kind of like sitting there watching it, thinking about like their past friendships and kind of missing people and wondering like where they're at. Like, what am I even doing? Like, where am I? Like, just a state of confusion. I think I always love those like cinematic moments in your head that you can like translate. And so that's what I was thinking about when writing it. And a lot of my lyrics are like kind of relatively vague, and I just take pieces of things that I think sound interesting and then try to formulate it into like a bigger story, I guess. So yeah, that's definitely, I think, what comes to mind. Just like dark, atmospheric in like an old house, completely empty, except for like a person and like a lamp.
That'd be cool. I mean, I tend to like sometimes when lyrics are vague and not overly complicated, because then I think it allows for you to kind of like place your own meaning.
Yeah.
Like your own story, you know? So I'm always a fan.
Yeah.
And then, so I was going to ask you what's next for 2025. I know you said you have the album, and then do you have like any upcoming shows or anything else that's happening? I also play in a band called Orphy. They're kind of like garage rock, ORPHY. So you should definitely check them out. It's super fun. Yeah. And I don't know, it's kind of a weird mix of a lot of random genres. I feel like we just kind of make whatever comes to mind, but we just released an album last year. So I think we're going to play some shows this summer, playing at a festival in August. Oh, cool.
Yeah, and then if I'd love to play across some of the East Coast. I've only played in like Nashville, Ohio, southern area, so I really would love to at some point like get more around the country. It's been really hard with like finishing up college, like being able to do stuff like that. So it's fun being able to like focus on music now. And then I'm working on freelance production for some other artists. So kind of doing the production thing and continuing to make music. And so we got the album, and I'm trying to do some other collaborations with some people. So working with a guy out of Brooklyn right now, trying to get some music out pretty soon, because it's been a couple years since like a big project. So super excited.
Yeah, super exciting. This will be a fun year for you then. I think those are like the main questions I had for you. So with that being said, are there like any final words that you'd like to leave like the listeners or your fans with?
Just thank you for listening. If you're just now figuring out who I am, thanks for tuning in. But if you've been listening for a while, it means a lot to me. It's really encouraging. I made this music just for fun in my room because I needed an outlet for like what I was going through. And so I never expected for anyone to listen to it. And so thank you for listening to it. It means the most to me. And yeah, just know that you're loved, and I really appreciate you. And yeah, thank you.